Every morning, a mother follows the same routine with her 5-year-old son. They leave their apartment on the third floor of Block 350, walk past the coffee shop on the ground level, pass through all the neighborhood shops, then continue along Ubi Avenue 1. Along the way, they pass Blocks 341 and 332, go through Harmony Park, then pass Block 317, and finally reach his kindergarten at Block 315. One morning, as they reached Harmony Park, the mother decided to take a small detour to buy breakfast at the coffee shop at Block 325. After purchasing her food, she was ready to continue their journey to the kindergarten. But her son stopped in his tracks. "Mom, this isn't the same way to school. Let's go back to Block 350. "It's okay, sweetheart," his mother reassured him. "The school is just nearby. We don't need to go back." But the boy was firm. He insisted on retracing their usual route, back to Block 350, before continuing to kindergarten. His mother, knowing she had to get to work on time, found herself in a difficult situation. If they went back, she would be late. But her son couldn't accept the change in routine. This moment highlights a common behavior in children with autism: insistence on sameness. Even a small change in routine can cause distress, making flexibility a challenge.
All right, so think about your morning routine for a second. You know, that very specific coffee you just have to order, the exact way you walk or drive to work, maybe even the order you put on your socks.
Oh, the order of the socks. Yeah, I get it. We all have these little things, these routines. It's like autopilot for the brain.
Exactly. But now imagine someone messes with that routine, like changes one tiny thing without warning. Suddenly you're thrown off, even if it seems totally insignificant.
Right, like that feeling when you reach for your coffee mug and it's not in its usual spot. It's just off, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And for some folks, that feeling of being thrown off by a seemingly small change can be really, really intense.
Way more than just a little annoyance, for sure.
Exactly. And that's actually what we're diving into today. It's called insistence on sameness. And it's this fascinating aspect of repetitive behaviors we often see in autistic individuals.
Super interesting topic, and one that I think a lot of people can relate to on some level.
Definitely. And to help us really get into it, we've got this story about a little boy heading to kindergarten.
Perfect example. Real-world stuff that I think will really illustrate what we're talking about.
Right. Okay, so every single morning, this 5-year-old and his mom leave their apartment. They're on the third floor of Block 350, and their route, it's like clockwork. Down they go, past the coffee shop on the first floor of their block.
Okay, so already a specific starting point. That coffee shop is a marker, I bet.
Huge marker, yeah. Then they go past all the other shops in that same block. Like the routine is so specific. Then they get on to UBAV 1. They pass Block 341, then 332 Harmony Park, and finally Block 317.
So they're hitting all these landmarks, same order every day. Got it.
Every single day. And the final destination, his kindergarten at Block 315. It's not just a way to get there, it's the way.
Like the only way, which makes you think, why is that so important?
Exactly. And that's where things get super interesting. So one day they're walking through Harmony Park and the mom decides she wants to try a different coffee shop. Maybe for a change. Maybe she wants a pastry. Who knows, right? But it's at Block 325. Just a little detour, really.
Seems like a normal thing a parent might do. Mix things up a bit.
Totally. She gets her coffee and her food, and she's ready to continue to kindergarten, which is still at Block 315. But here's the thing. The little guy has a very different reaction.
This is where the insistence on sameness comes in, I'm guessing?
Big time. As soon as they start going towards Block 315, but from this new coffee shop, he just stops, and he says, "Mother, this is not the same way to my school. Let's go back to Block 350. Like, he wants to start the whole route over.
Wow. So now the mom's in a bind, right? She probably has to get to work, but her son is clearly distressed. Tough spot.
Huge dilemma. So that's the situation, right? And the question is, what's going on here? Why is this tiny change such a big deal? And how should the mom handle this, knowing she can't always go back to Block 350 every time she needs a different coffee?
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to unpack in this deep dive.
Okay, so first things first. This little guy, he's not trying to be difficult on purpose. It's not a tantrum or anything like that. There's something deeper happening.
So let's get into that. Why do some people, especially autistic individuals, have this intense need for things to stay exactly the same?
Well, one big factor is the need for predictability and security. Think about it. The world can feel chaotic, right?
Hmm.
Especially for a 5-year-old, and even more so for someone on the spectrum.
So for a child who might already have some challenges with sensory input or social interactions, the world can be extra overwhelming.
Absolutely. Routines, on the other hand, provide this framework, this sense of order that can make things feel safer, more manageable. That familiar route to kindergarten, it's not just a way to get there, it's a source of comfort, a set of known quantities that reduces anxiety.
So for our 5-year-old, that specific path with all its landmarks, it's like this safe and predictable bubble. Like if that bubble gets burst, everything feels wrong.
Exactly. Even a small detour introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty can be a major source of anxiety. He knows exactly what to expect on that usual route, the new route. It's full of unknowns, and unknowns can be really scary. It's not just a matter of preference. It's a fundamental need to have a predictable world, which can be really crucial for managing anxiety.
I'm starting to see it from his perspective. It's like, imagine if someone rearranged all the apps on your phone without asking. Yeah, they're all still there, but now you're totally disoriented.
Perfect analogy. And then there's the sensory piece of the puzzle.
Oh, right, sensory sensitivity.
Huge. Changes in routine often mean exposure to new sensory experiences, which can be overwhelming.
So this different coffee shop, it might have louder noises, different smells, even just a different level of activity and visual stimulation. Like it's a whole new sensory landscape that he wasn't prepared for.
Exactly. And for someone with heightened sensory sensitivities, those new stimuli can be really intense, even painful. The established route, though, that's familiar territory. He knows the sounds, the smells, the sights. It's all predictable. So this innocent detour, it might be a sensory overload in disguise.
Which the mom might not even realize, right? She's just thinking about her coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the cognitive side of things. Routines aren't just about the physical steps. They can help organize thoughts and actions.
So for our little guy, that specific route to kindergarten might be like a mental checklist. Each landmark triggers the next step in his brain. And if you change that order...
Boom. Mental chaos. It disrupts the whole system. This specific order coffee shop, other shops, block 341, 332. So on it likely provides this cognitive framework for his morning. Changing that can cause serious mental overload.
It's not just about the coffee, it's about his whole mental organization for the day.
Exactly. So it's not stubbornness, it's his brain trying to make sense of the world in the way that works for him.
Okay, that makes way more sense. It's about security, sensory input, and cognitive order, all these things we might not even think about. But let's get practical here. The mom's got a distressed child, and she's probably on a schedule herself. What can she do in that moment and going forward?
Right. It's a tough spot for any parent.
Yeah.
So, first and foremost, acknowledge and validate his feelings. This is so important.
Meaning not just dismissing it with a, it's fine, we'll get there. Because as we now understand, it's not fine for him at all.
Exactly. Acknowledge the distress directly. Say something like, I see you're upset we took a different way. I understand that going the usual way is important to you. It's not about giving in. It's about validating his experience.
Showing him that she understands why he's upset. That's a good starting point. Then what?
Then offer a simple explanation. Avoid complex reasons or abstract ideas. We stopped here because I needed to get breakfast. We'll still get to school. It's just a little different way today.
Short, sweet, and reassuring. Got it.
Exactly. No need to over-explain in that moment. And for future situations, visual aids can be amazing.
Like how so?
Maybe if she has a map on her phone, she can quickly show him where the new coffee shop is in relation to their usual route. But for future planning, social stories are super helpful.
Those are those short, simple stories that describe a situation, right?
Exactly. So a story about how sometimes we might stop at a different coffee shop on the way to school. It's still near our usual way, and after we get coffee, we'll go to school, just like always.
Preparing him for the change beforehand so it's not a total shock. I like that.
It can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And whenever possible, give him choices, even little ones.
Choices, even when he's already upset about the change. How does that help?
It gives back some control. She can't always change the route, but she can say, after breakfast, do you want to hold my hand while we walk, or do you want to walk by yourself? It's small, but it gives him a sense of agency.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. When everything feels out of control, having a little bit of choice can be really helpful. So what about preventing this kind of meltdown in the first place?
Preparation is key. If she knows there will be a change, tell him ahead of time. Tomorrow, we might try a different coffee shop on our way to school. It gives him time to adjust mentally.
So no surprises, and if he does manage to cope with the change, even if it's tough.
Positive reinforcement all the way. Thank you for being so understanding about the different coffee shop. You did a great job. Reinforce the flexibility, even if it's a struggle.
Acknowledge the effort, not just the outcome. Makes sense. Now, what if the new coffee shop itself is adding to his stress? Like it's just too much sensory input.
If he's getting more and more upset, get him out of there ASAP. Even stepping outside for a minute can help. And having sensory tools on hand can be a lifesaver.
Like noise-canceling headphones or a fidget toy.
Exactly. Things that can help him regulate when things get too intense. And for ongoing support, a visual schedule can be amazing. It provides a clear structure for the whole day, including that morning routine.
So he can see what's coming next and there are no surprises.
Exactly. Visual supports can be so powerful for reducing anxiety. And of course, if this is happening a lot and causing major issues, getting professional guidance is a good idea.
A therapist who specializes in autism could really help with strategies.
They can create a tailored plan, work with the family, really understand the individual needs. It can be a game changer.
That makes sense. So, final thoughts for parents or anyone who interacts with someone who has this insistence on sameness. What's the key takeaway?
Empathy, empathy, empathy. This is not defiance. It's not manipulation. It's a genuine need stemming from how their brain works. And patience. Lots and lots of patience.
Because it's not about fixing them, it's about supporting them.
Exactly. It's about understanding, accommodating, and working together.
Absolutely. You know, there's this funny little story in our source material that I think really sums this up. It's called The Humorous Aside, The Battle of the Breakfast Pastry.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It's kind of a lighthearted take on a serious topic.
Totally. So picture this. The mom, after venturing to the new coffee shop, has her coffee and this pastry. And she's trying to persuade her son that this detour was worth it. Like, look, this pastry is amazing. You wouldn't want to miss this.
The classic pastry bribe, every parent's secret weapon.
Right. But the boy's not budging. He's laser focused on the deviation from the sacred path of block 350, as they call it. So the mom takes a bite of her pastry and tries a different tactic. She's like, you know, if we go all the way back, we'll miss this pastry. And trust me, you don't want to miss this pastry.
Well, I love it. The suspense builds.
Right. And here's the turning point. The little guy pauses and he asks, very hesitantly, is it? Very delicious. And the mom jumps in with, it's like a symphony of sweetness, a culinary masterpiece.
It's that tiny flicker of curiosity, that hint that maybe, just maybe, there's something worth deviating for.
It's a perfect example of the push and pull between the need for routine and that little spark of interest in something new. Like, even with a strong need for sameness, there can be flexibility, especially if there's a really good motivator involved.
It also shows the mom's creativity in trying to connect with him on his level. It's not just about forcing him. It's about finding a way to make it work.
So for our listeners, especially if you know someone who experiences this kind of insistence on sameness, what's the big takeaway here?
It's this. Insistence on sameness is a part of who they are. It's not a flaw or a behavior to be punished. It's about their need for predictability, sensory regulation, and cognitive organization. Understand that, and you're halfway there.
It's about seeing the world through their eyes, not forcing them to see it through ours.
Exactly. And with that understanding comes acceptance. It's not about eliminating the need for sameness. It's about supporting it while finding ways to introduce flexibility when possible.
Finding that balance between respecting their needs and gently expanding their comfort zone. So to wrap up our deep dive today, we've explored this fascinating concept of insistence on sameness. It's often seen in autistic individuals, but really, it's something we can all relate to on some level. It's not about being difficult. It's about navigating the world in a way that feels safe and manageable.
And we've learned that it's deeply connected to these core needs for predictability, sensory regulation, and cognitive organization, which means the way we respond to it really matters.
Absolutely. Acknowledging feelings, explaining simply, using visual aids, offering choices, preparing for transitions, positive reinforcement, considering sensory needs, creating visual schedules, seeking professional help when needed. These are all tools that can make a world of difference.
Tools that are rooted in empathy and patience. That's the key, really.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so here's a final thought to chew on. Think about your own routines. What happens when they get disrupted? Maybe it's a minor annoyance. Maybe it throws your whole day off. Whatever it is, it might just give you a little glimpse into the experience of someone with a strong need for sameness.
It's a reminder that we all crave predictability on some level. It's a human thing.
It is, and maybe that can be a starting point for a deeper understanding of those who experience the world a little differently. It's about celebrating our differences and finding ways to support each other, quirks and all.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.
Say that?